Honestly, if you're not 1001% convinced that the bag you're buying is authentic, just don't do it. Hi guys, my name is G.P.S. and welcome back to my channel. In the past couple of weeks, I've been getting an overwhelming number of questions about my thoughts on buying Preloved Hermes bags, and more importantly, how to get them authenticated. Which kind of makes sense now that I'm thinking about it, considering that most of us cannot really get to store nowadays, and even if we do, it's not guaranteed that we'll see something new, as a big chunk of production has been delayed. So I guess it makes sense that more people are turning to the Preloved Market to score their dream bags. But every time we buy something outside of the boutique, the question of authenticity may come up. So in today's video, I thought we would chat about buying Preloved Hermes bags. And in my opinion, pretty much the only service that I would trust to make sure that my bag is 100% the real deal. So if you want to find out how I would go about making sure that my bag is authentic, then please keep on watching. Quick disclaimer before we get into the video, I do not consider myself an expert on the Preloved market. Personally, I've never purchased an Hermes bag, or I don't think any bag for that matter from the Preloved market. However, I have sold several bags and I try to learn from my friends' experiences and mistakes. But I don't have any personal issues with the Preloved market. I think it's great for many people and it can be really a fun experience for you to get a bag secondhand, not to mention that it's more sustainable. So I don't have any problems with it. However, I'm yet to pick up a bag from the resale market. And actually, now that we're talking about it, I have been toying with the idea of getting a bag secondhand. Maybe next year. I'll give you guys an update on this in my 2021 wishlist video if I decide that I'm going to move ahead with this purchase. But yeah, I have been playing with the idea, but I'm yet to purchase something from the Preloved market. So I want to make sure that you do your own research before you buy anything Preloved, because it's really important that you feel 100% confident and comfortable buying something outside of the boutique. So you might ask why I've never purchased a bag from the resale market, and there are a couple of reasons. While I do think that it can be a really fun experience for you to hunt for a good bargain, you can find bags at great prices, especially bags that are not super in demand. So for example, right now, a Birkin 35, which is something that I've been seeing a lot, you can find at incredible prices because it's not really a bag that is super popular, even though there is no doubt about the fact that it will be back in style in no time. These things tend to work in circles. So even though many bags are super popular right now, I think within a couple of years, we'll see more and more larger bags on the runway, and then it will slowly trickle down into streetwear and back in trend. So it can be a great way of getting your hands on an amazing bag at a really good price, especially if you're not really trend conscious. Obviously, if you're more into trendy bags and you want to ride the wave of trends, it's going to be a little bit more difficult, but obviously not impossible. And when it comes to Hermes bags, the reason why I've never purchased one from the Preloved market is honestly not because I have any problems with it, but it's just mainly because I admire Hermes so much that I've been building my relationship for so many years that I never felt that I needed to. I am a pretty patient person. There are no bags that I would want immediately. I'm perfectly fine waiting for my dream bag to come into stock. And in the meantime, I'll just buy other things from the brand. I'm not forcing myself to buy products from Hermes specifically and solely just so I can get a bag. I would buy them anyway, so since I'm already purchasing things from the brand, I might as well just wait my turn and get it directly from the boutique. But I understand it's not the same for everyone. If you're not someone who appreciates everything else that Hermes does, and the only thing you want from the brand is a bag, it might be worth it for you to look at bags on the resale market, considering that you'll probably save some time and some money depending on what you're looking for. But let's say you already have a bag in your collection and you want to make sure that it is 100% a real deal. I personally have been buying and admiring Hermes for many years at this point, and I still don't feel qualified to tell anyone whether their bags are real or not. And there are a couple of reasons. Number one, Obviously, Hermes bags are handmade. Each one of them is individually crafted. And with that, the human error aspect is introduced. Obviously, Hermes bags need to meet the highest quality standards. There are strict guidelines that they need to follow, and there are several steps that ensure that these bags are indeed everything the brand wants them to be. And I'm sure that there are many points of quality checks throughout the process. But still, there are certain things that can differ from one bag to another. And you need to be extremely well versed in the world of Hermes to be able to judge that something that is perhaps perceived as a mistake is something that was unintentionally done by an Hermes craftsman, because each one of the steps are made by hand, or it's something that happened because the bag was done outside of the Hermes atelier. Obviously, there are different little mistakes that you can find on different bags and different parts of the bag. And to be honest, I find them quite charming. I think these give a little bit more character to the bag. And that's what really differentiates them from machine-made bags that are mass-produced. And just to mention one example, a big incident that happened in the early 2000s, there was a batch of Birkins that was released. And shortly after these bags were sold, people started coming back to Hermes and telling them that there was something wrong with their Birkin because it had this horrifying smell. Every time you opened the bag, this just fume of smell would come out of the bag. And it turns out there was something wrong with the glue that they used on that batch of Birkins. And every time you would take out one of these bags in the heat, the glue would just start melting and it would release this smell. So every time you would open your bag, this smell would come out. So perhaps if you were not familiar with this part of Hermes' history and you were given one of these bags to authenticate, you might think that the bag is not made by Hermes because Hermes would never let this happen, or you would think that the bag is made of plastic and it's melting. But even with Hermes, things can slip through the cracks. So it's a really difficult job to differentiate an authentic bag from a really, 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 really well-made fake. I'm not saying it's impossible, but I'm sure it's not an easy job. Another thing that I think makes it quite difficult to tell the real bag from the great fakes is that Hermes bags can go through a lot in their lifetime. Imagine carrying an Hermes bag and getting caught in the rain. Imagine if you're soaking wet and your bag is filled up with water. Obviously, your bag is not going to look the same as it did when you first got it. It's going to go through changes in texture, in shape. You might alter the shape of the bag over time, even if you don't get caught in the rain, but the way you carry it. So even though Hermes bags are made of the most exceptional pieces of leather and they are made to withstand the test of time, these bags can go through a lot. So I think that's another thing that makes it quite difficult to tell whether it's real or not. And then the last thing that I can think of, which I think would make the job of an authenticator even more difficult, especially when it comes to exceptional Hermes pieces, is the fact that Hermes has probably done and made everything under the sun for their VIP customers. I mean, there really isn't anything that you could ask for that Hermes wouldn't be able to do for you. They manufacture car interiors. When it comes to bags, if you are a good, loyal client, they're probably able to do whatever you want for you. The craziest thing that I personally know of that Hermes has done for someone was an apple holder. Yes, you heard it right. A little pouch for someone's apple. There was this person that I knew of who took an apple with her to work every single day. So she wanted Hermes to create a little pouch or a little bag specifically for her apple. And Hermes was willing to do it. They told her that, yes, if you want it, we can come up with different ideas, different samples, and whichever you choose, we'll manufacture for you. So yes, Hermes has even done apples. And obviously that was an extreme case. But even when it comes to Birkins and Kellys, you just simply cannot know if the bag that someone's carrying is a vintage piece. Perhaps it's made of elephant leather. Perhaps it's made of a leather that is now discontinued and most likely banned. If it's a piece that someone inherited, or it was something that Hermes has done specifically for them in the past. So in my opinion, there's much more to authenticating an Hermes bag than what really meets the eye, especially when it comes to more special and unique pieces. And again, I'm not talking about really obvious fakes. I'm talking about things that convincingly look like what you would expect the real deal to look like. But yeah, I think it's not an easy thing, especially when it comes to a brand that is as special as Hermes. Even though I've just given you guys all these reasons why it can be quite challenging to get an Hermes bag authenticated, it's not impossible. And I still think that Preloved can be a good idea in many cases, as long as you make sure that you do your own research and you only buy from places that you feel 100% comfortable with. I have done a video comparing some of the biggest pre-loved sites, which I'll make sure to link up here. But what happens if you already have a bag and you want to make sure that it is indeed what it claims to be? Well, there are several authentication services out there, and by no means I'm saying that they're not good or you shouldn't use them. But personally, I haven't tried any one of them, so I wouldn't be able to endorse something that I've never tried myself. Maybe down the line I will if I ever buy a bag from the Preloved Market, but I just simply don't have any personal experience with any one of them. If you do, if you have some positive experience that you would like to share with others, then please let us know in the comment section. So the only service that I would feel comfortable recommending is through Hermes. Now, getting a bag authenticated by Hermes is not as easy as it sounds. You cannot just walk into one of their boutiques with a bag that you bought from the resale or the Preloved Market and ask someone working there if they'd be willing to tell you whether the bag is authentic or not, no matter how helpful they are. I don't think that they're allowed to do that for several different reasons. Obviously, the biggest one is because of legal reasons. But I assume that they have the same things in mind that I do, that some bags go through a little bit more in their lifetime than others, that can perhaps alter the shape or the texture of the bag. Some bags can be one of a kind or unique or an exceptional piece that no one's ever seen before because there was only one created. Or just the fact that Hermes bags are handmade and there are certain mistakes that are due to the fact that each one of them is individually created and they're all done by people. And if someone told you at Hermes that your bag is not authentic, even though it is, that could really get them in a lot of trouble. So I don't think that they're allowed to do that, no matter how helpful they want to be. So I don't recommend that you do that. However, there is a way around the system. There is a loophole, which is that you can get your bags serviced by Hermes. Now, the way this works is that you would drop off your bag at your local Hermes boutique to get it serviced, either get it cleaned or get something fixed. And then your bag gets sent to either a domestic atelier that specializes in repairs, or if more needs to be done to the bag, it gets sent to France, to the headquarters where all bags are made. And if you live in the US and you can get to either the Madison Avenue boutique or the boutique in Beverly Hills on Rodeo Drive, you are in luck because these two stores do have on-site craftsmen, or at least they used to before everything. Now, this doesn't mean that you can just take in your bag and the craftsman on the spot will tell you whether your bag is real or fake. But if you go into these boutiques and you drop off your bags at one of the after-sale desks, you'll likely get some feedback sooner because they have a craftsman there who can deal with the bags. And smaller things are fixed on the spot, but if it's a larger job that needs to be done, for example, they need to change some larger components on the bag, your bag will have to be shipped back to France. Now, there are a couple of things that can happen. Obviously, Hermes is never going to tell you, oh, your bag is authentic, we'll have it serviced, or it's fake, we cannot get it serviced. But if it's a smaller job that they can do on the spot, and if they're willing to do it for you, that sort of implies that the bag is real. And if it gets rejected immediately, that means, or at least implies, that there might be something off about your bag. Now, if your bag needs more extensive work, it will, as I mentioned, be shipped to France, which is not necessarily a good or a bad sign. It just means that it needs to be shipped to France, where they might take your bag apart, they might inspect it, and if it gets fixed, that's a good sign. It will be shipped back to you and you will just pay for it whenever it arrives to your local boutique. However, if your bag has been taken apart, it's been inspected, and they come to the conclusion that it's not the real thing, you might have just lost your bag, because as far as I know, if the bag is not real, it will not be shipped back to you. For legal and customs purposes, they cannot ship bags back and forth that are not real. So I wouldn't recommend that you do this if you're not convinced that your bag is real, or if you would mind losing the bag. But you'll never receive a letter or an authenticity card with your Hermes bag even after this repair. This is just a service that implies that if Hermes is willing to do it, they sort of give you their stamp of approval, but Hermes doesn't believe in authenticity cards. You don't even get one when you buy a brand new bag from the boutique, because they believe that the craftsmanship and the quality should speak for themselves. You don't need a card to go with your bag. So this is really the only service that I would feel comfortable recommending. This is the only way for you to get Hermes's stamp of approval, even though it's not a real stamp. This is personally how I would go about doing it. It is a little bit more time consuming and a little bit more tricky than some other services might be, and it's likely going to be more expensive. Depending on what needs to be done, it's going to set you back a few $100s. But if you have a little voice in the back of your mind, then I think it's worth just quieting it. Either don't buy the bag, or if you have already bought the bag and you want to make sure that it is what it claims to be, just go with Hermes, take advantage of this service. It is going to cost you quite a bit of money, but I think it's worth having a craftsman look at it and service it for you. The craftsmen are incredible. They live and breathe these products, and they spent years and years and years training with Hermes before they were even allowed to put a bag together. So for me, this is really the only service that I would feel comfortable recommending at this point. And this is it, guys. This completes today's video on my thoughts on getting your Hermes bags authenticated. I hope you guys found it helpful. And if you have worked with any authenticators yourselves, then let us know in the comment section. And if you enjoyed this video, then please make sure to give it a thumbs up. And don't forget to subscribe. And as always, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you being here, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye.